Alright kids, we're going to begin the lesson here by putting the notes up for today's topic, which is the slope of a line. We're going to analyze the slope of lines. We're going to describe characteristics of slope. So before we do that, why don't you take a minute and look over what I have up here, copy this down, and I would suggest you hit pause for a minute or two and write everything down, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the lesson. Okay, first of all, a lot of this is a review of Algebra 1. When we talk about slope, we talk about the steepness of a line. There are several formulas here. The one formula for slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Of course, the symbol for slope is the letter M. x1 and y1 are coordinates of one of the points on your line, and x2 and y2 represent the coordinates for the other point on the line. Now, the second formula for slope involves rise over run, because that's what a slope basically is. It measures the ratio of how fast a graph is changing up and down in the vertical direction, and we're comparing it to how fast it changes right or left in the horizontal direction. Now, the way I distinguish this is if you are given a picture of a graph, they already give you the line, they don't give you any of the coordinates on the line, I would use the rise over run formula. When they actually give you the coordinates, they actually give you point A as 2, -1, for example, then I would use the first version of the slope formula. Now, associated with slope are these characteristics. And again, take a minute, copy these down, and when you get done copying these down, click, after you click pause, you can go ahead and start again, and we'll talk about these. If a line has a positive slope, the line is going to slant upwards to the right. And of course, the steepness of it depends on the value of that slope. If a line has a negative slope, the slant's going to be down to the right. And if a line has a slope of 0, then that means the line is horizontal. Remember, a horizontal line, if you're walking along the floor in my classroom, you're not going uphill or downhill. So there's a 0 slope to that floor. And of course, when that occurs, all your y values are the same. So if someone gives you a set of points that have the same y value, that line, when graphed, would produce a horizontal line and would have a slope of 0. Now, a vertical line is a little bit different. A vertical line does not have a slope. The slope does not exist, and the reason it doesn't exist from an algebraic standpoint is because when you have a vertical line, the characteristic of a vertical line is it has the same x values. And so if it's got the same x values and you're using that first formula, x2 minus x1 does not equal, x2 minus x1 would equal 0, and anything divided by 0 doesn't exist. If two lines are parallel, the slopes are the same. That's why they don't intersect. So the steepness would be the same rise over same run. The last characteristic is one you probably didn't see in Algebra 1, but we use quite a bit in Algebra 2. If two lines are perpendicular, if they are forming 90-degree angles, such as the x and y axis, for example, if those lines are perpendicular, their slopes would be negative reciprocals of each other. So take a minute and look that over. Get this copied down. So those are the characteristics that I would like you to know for slope. What we're going to do right now is we're going to work a couple of sample problems from the assignment, and then tomorrow when you come in, we'll complete the assignment together. So let's start off. In your textbook, this is on pages 80 and 81, and again, I'm just going to do a couple of examples. You put them in your notes, and then tomorrow will elaborate on this a little bit further. On page 80, I'm going to start with number 38. The directions ask you to define or to tell which line is steeper, line 1 or line 2. And so line 1 has the following coordinates. I'm going to put this up here, number 38. Line 1 has point A. Oh. One thing about these videos, if you go too fast with the pen, there's a little bit of a problem. So I've got to write a little bit slower. Line A is coordinates 4, 1. And B is coordinates -8 and 6. That's line 1. And then line 2, look at that. Just goes crazy. A little better. Line 2 has point A, coordinates -2, 4, and point B, the coordinates are -1 and 8. And they're asking us which line is steeper. Well, you've got to find the slope of each line. And so over here I'm going to put a little m for line 1. And that would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When I plug my values in, I'm going to let point B be my point 2. So the y coordinate of B is 6 minus the y coordinate of A, which is 1. The x coordinate of B is -8 minus the x coordinate of A is 4. And when I clean that up a little bit, I get 5 over -12. That line is going down to the right. And now when I do point 2, you only got to write the slope formula once in the problem. As long as I see it y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, I know that's what you're using. I'm going to have point B be my second point. So y2 is 8 minus 4 for y1. x2 is -1 minus a -2. When I clean up the numerator, I get 4. And when I clean up the denominator, I get 1. Oh, that's correct. And 4 over 1 reduces to 4. And line 2 would be steeper. So they're just asking you to recognize which line is steeper, line 1 or line 2. Now the other part of the assignment they ask for, when you get into the second part, 41 to 44, they ask you, tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So, hopefully everybody's got that. Let's clear that off. And we're going to work with number 42. Again, line 1 has coordinate A of 4, -3, and line and has B value of -8 and 1. Line 2 has coordinates for A of 5, 11, and coordinates for B of 8 and 20. They want you to determine whether these two lines are parallel or whether they're perpendicular, or whether they're neither. They're just intersecting lines. So we're going to write our slope formula down. M is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what I would like for you to do here is to put the slope of line 1 on the left and put the slope for line 2 on the right. Good old school bells, got to have those. Line 1, if you do this properly, you get 1 minus negative 3 over negative 8 minus 4. And when you add the opposite, you end up with 4 over 12. And that reduces to 1/3. We'll get to that. I'm sorry, 4 over negative 12. Now on the right-hand side, we're going to do line 2. So that's going to be 20 minus 11 over 8 minus 5. And that's going to reduce to 9 over 3. So I'm just going to put this over here. So when we reduce these, we have negative 1/3 on one side. And on the other side, we have 3 over 1. And as you can see, these are not equal. So it's not a parallel situation. However, they are opposite reciprocals. The reciprocal of 1 over 3 is 3 over 1, and they're opposite signs. So these two lines, line 1 is perpendicular. Now the symbol for perpendicular is an upside down capital T. Line 1 is perpendicular to line 2. I hope that helps you out with what we're doing in class tomorrow. And if not, you have any questions, we'll start off class with a little question and answer and make sure you're good to go. Have a nice evening, kids.